Have you ever heard of a ghost city? We're about to walk through one. I mean, just imagine an entire imperial capital carved out of beautiful red sandstone by one of the most powerful emperors in history, only to be totally abandoned just a handful of years later. Well, that is the incredible story of Fatehpur Sikri. Okay, so let's get right into the biggest question, because this is what makes this place so unbelievably fascinating. How in the world does a city that at its peak was bigger and grander than London get built with so much money and vision and then just empty out? It's this amazing paradox of ambition and, well, sudden failure. Just picture this for a second. A massive city sprawling across a rocky ridge with every single wall and courtyard just glowing red under the Indian sun. What you're looking at is one of the most perfectly preserved ghost towns on the entire planet. And when you walk through its silent palaces, I swear, you can almost hear the echoes of the empire that just vanished. Now, to understand why this city was even built, you really have to understand the man who built it. See, its creation wasn't just some political move. Nope, it was deeply, deeply personal. It was all rooted in an emperor's very own spiritual quest. So let me introduce you to the great Emperor Akbar. By the middle of the 1500s, this guy had it all. I mean, immense power, wealth you can't even imagine, a huge empire. But the one thing he didn't have? A son. He had many wives, but no male heir to carry on his dynasty. And it became a total, all-consuming obsession for him. And this is where faith completely changes the map of an empire. Akbar, totally desperate, goes to see a famous holy man, a Sufi saint named Sheikh Salim Chishti, who was living in this tiny little village called Sikri. The saint gives the emperor his blessing. And what do you know, a year later, his wife gives birth to a son. Akbar was so convinced that this ground was sacred, he made a monumental decision. He was going to build his brand new capital city right there, as a thank you for this miracle. All right, let's take a walk through this place. The easiest way to think about it is as two different halves. We're going to start our tour in Sikri. That's the enormous royal palace. It was the nerve center of the whole empire, and of course, the emperor's personal world. So the second you enter the palace grounds, you're standing in this absolutely massive courtyard. This is the Diwan-e-Am. It was basically an open court, a place where Akbar would sit up on this elevated throne and personally hand out justice. And get this, any person, rich or poor, could come here and bring their complaint directly to the emperor. It was a really powerful symbol of how accessible he wanted to be as a ruler. Okay, but this is where things get really interesting. As you move deeper into the palace, you come to this kind of unassuming, square-looking building. This is the Diwan-e-Khas. From the outside, you might think, looks simple enough. But what's inside? Well, it holds one of the most unique architectural and philosophical ideas of the entire Mughal Empire. And this place brilliantly shows you how Akbar's mind worked. You walk in, and bam, you're face to face with this massive single pillar that just blossoms at the top into a circular platform. Akbar would sit right there, literally in the center of his universe, and 4 stone bridges connected him to his ministers and guests in the corners. This was his version of a parliament, where he'd invite leaders from all different faiths, Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Jains, to debate religion and philosophy. The building itself forced people to have a conversation. Now, this whole idea of blending things together actually has a name. It's called syncretism. Akbar was so into different religions, he even tried to create his own, which would take the best parts from all of them. And Fatehpur Sikri is basically that idea carved in stone. You see it everywhere, like Hindu lotus flowers carved right next to classic Islamic geometric patterns. It was a totally deliberate fusion, a physical representation of his diverse empire. Okay, so let's move from public life into the private quarters. The biggest and grandest palace belonged to Jodhabai, who was the mother of his heir. Her palace is the stunning mix of Hindu and Mughal styles, and it even had its own small temple. Nearby, you'd find the Haram Sara. This was the imperial harem, a big enclosed courtyard where all of the emperor's wives lived. It was designed to be this beautiful, secluded world, kind of a golden cage, keeping the royal women protected but also hidden away from public eyes. And for entertainment, you have this incredible structure, the Panch Mahal. People called it the Wind Catcher Palace. It's a 5-story pavilion, and each floor is smaller than the one below it until it ends in a single little dome at the top. The whole thing is held up by 176 intricately carved columns, and not a single one is the same. It was basically an ancient air conditioner, designed to catch the breeze and give the women of the court a cool place to relax and look out over their city. So, we've just explored the royal city of Sikri. But now, we're going to step into Fatehpur, this sacred part of the complex that was actually here first, and as I said, the whole reason for the city's existence. The centerpiece of this whole area is the Jama Masjid, the main mosque, and it is an enormous, absolutely breathtaking space. But what's really amazing is that, unlike the Silent Palace, this place is alive. It's not some tourist relic. It's a living, breathing mosque where people from the town still come to pray 5 times a day. And right in the center of the mosque's huge red sandstone courtyard, you find this stunning contrast. It's the tomb of Sheikh Salim Chishti, the saint whose blessing gave Akbar his son. It's this delicate, perfect little jewel box, completely covered in gleaming white marble, with these incredibly detailed lattice screens. This intimate, sacred little tomb is really the spiritual anchor of the entire city. Now, the thing that dominates the entire complex is its southern entrance, the Buland Darwaza. It is just colossal. It stands 54 meters high. That's nearly 180 feet. You have to walk up this huge, steep flight of stairs just to get to it. It was designed for one thing, to overwhelm you and impress you. It's one of the biggest gateways in the world, just a pure statement of power. But here's a cool little detail. This massive gate wasn't even in the original plan. Akbar actually added it after the rest of the mosque was already finished. He built it as a victory arch to celebrate his successful military conquest of a region called Gujarat. And it was that very victory that gave the city its final name, Fatehpur Sikri, which means the city of victory. So we've seen the vision, the personal faith, and the imperial power that went into building this place. Which, of course, brings us right back to our central mystery and what ultimately happened to the city. I mean, really, why go to all this trouble? Why pour so much money and creativity into building a capital city bigger than London, a true marvel of architecture, only to literally walk away from it just 14 years after it was founded? It just doesn't make sense. Well, the answer, it seems, comes down to a fundamental and pretty fatal flaw. You see, the city was built because of faith, not because of logistics. It was built on a rocky ridge with no river, no consistent natural water source. They built artificial lakes and wells, but they just couldn't support a massive population. When the water ran out, the city died. And at the same time, Akbar's military focus shifted to another region. So the ever-pragmatic emperor just packed up his court and left his dream city behind. This timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Just a brilliant flash of existence. Only 14 years as the center of one of the world's great empires. By 1610, it was completely empty, and it lay like a desert ruin for centuries, until, finally, in 1986, it was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the incredible thing is, you can still walk through this ghost city today. So if you're ever planning a visit, just know it's a really easy trip from Agra. The site itself is huge, so you'll end up using these local electric carts to get to the main part. And here's a crucial tip. Remember that mosque we talked about? The Jama Masjid is still a living place of worship, so you have to dress respectfully. That means long trousers. If you don't, you won't be able to step inside and see all of its wonders. And we'll end with this. Carved into that magnificent gate of victory is this inscription. It's this really profound thought about how fleeting worldly things are. It's almost as if Akbar himself understood that even this great city, his tribute to God and his own dynasty, was just a temporary stop on a much, much longer journey. A ghost city that leaves us with a question. What do we build that's truly meant to last?